So it's funny that you started that with Ben and Kate, because when you were talking about the show that you love so much, I kind of thought you were going to talk about Go On.
I love that one too.
I know, but I thought that's where you were going, because I mean it's Matthew Perry, who we always loved since Friends, because he's amazing and hysterical. But also, I mean, you're into sports, and they deal in the sports world,
so
and you know it's.
And I'm also bizarrely fascinated by group therapy. Not that's something.
Okay.
Not like I want to actually go in there and sit down.
But
and
the
share my
concept,
but
yeah.
I think it's a fascinating concept for a television show.
Yeah.
Because you're putting these people who, by the definition, have something in common, but
Right.
very often have so many different. I mean, you see
Different
in this
reactions
and
to
Go
it.
On, these characters are so different. They've got so many different personalities in there, but they're all bonded by their own grief,
Yeah.
no matter what kind of level it is.
Although I will say that raises an interesting point, because he started out having to go. He was
Right.
mandated to go, and so I'm curious to see if the show takes him down the road of he ends up, when he's finished his time, he ends up still going because he realizes that he wants to go and it's helping him, or if they take them out of the group therapy situation and he starts to realize, well, I want to still be with these people even if I don't feel like I want to be in this room. Because even already, and I was super impressed, that's what they've taken them out of that room. They've taken them into everyone's individual world.
Right.
And I mean, it seems like it's going to be episode by episode where we explore one of his, I don't know what to call them, his little group mates. Yeah. It seems like once, every week it'll be a different one where we'll start to get more into their psyche and their head. And I like that. But I'm just curious as to, like, well, when you've gone around the circle one time, then where do you go?
Well, I mean, this seems to be a pattern in terms of our podcasting and talking about new shows. Look at Lost, for instance. Just because you had one flashback doesn't mean you have to be down there. So it's like, I feel like even if we go a little bit into each of their worlds and there's a good number of group members, we've got a good part of the season.
Yeah, that's true.
You could kind of focus on something that they're either dealing with currently or an issue they haven't really talked about until then. I feel like there's enough I feel like there's enough material where you can definitely keep diving back into their world and bringing them into his world, which they're clearly going to be doing a lot.
I'm just more
which
curious
I'm really
as to
fascinated
where their
by
focus.
that. Yeah, no, yes, I could have gone either way in terms of starting with gushing love for Ben and Kate or Go On, because I love that one. I love that one too. And I think Matthew Perry is so talented. Not forgetting the Friends aspect of it, but I think if you ignore Chandler for the moment, I actually was one of 4 people who loved Studio 60.
I was the other one of 4. Well,
so
in our camera operator was 3 of 4. So,
and I know I've got someone else. I think we know the 4 people who actually like Studio 60. I think I can actually count for them by names. Also, hi Kate. I'm guessing.
But also, yes. I mean, I enjoyed Mr. Sunshine. It wasn't what I wanted it to be, but I thought if it had more time, it could get there. Because I find him likable even when the character he's playing is not.
And it's like, Mr. Sunshine was probably my least favorite thing that he's done post Friends, but it was still, it was enjoyable. And I think he brings a great kind of balance to this role, because this is a tragic character.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a character who lost his wife, which is not something that's by any means funny.
Right.
But he also does have that humor. He's got this basically this dry sarcasm to kind of keep him going, and that makes that pilot, I think, had some of the best moments of any of the pilots that I've seen in terms of I love the March Sadness. That was freaking brilliant.
Yeah,
I was cursed there and I caught that.
I mean,
that was like, hello, how has no one done that before in some kind of capacity? I don't think that's been done. That pun has been made.
The pun itself probably, and probably also, not, because how often would that come up?
Right, and it's just like that. It was such a great way to kind of introduce us to these characters and these stories, and it kind of fit with everything.
Right. Without feeling so
contrived.
Yeah,
right. It was fantastic. And them chasing after that Google thing,
which
was cute. I now want to do. Not in a weird way. I don't need to have all the costumes on, but that made me want to go out, see into the sun, and do things like that.
I mean, I will say that kind of reminded me of Big Bang Theory last year when they wanted their wedding to be on Google Earth. So I was like, and to me, that was a sweet, it wasn't an intentional nod, but it was a sweet little callback to that. I mean, most of these shows, they don't set out to copy anyone else. It's never intentional.
It's probably filmed before
Big
Bang one.
It's never intentional. But I personally really enjoy when I see shades of other things in new things that I like.
Yes.
So like, and I mean, I get a lot of Friends vibes.
Yeah,
but
I'll say the
mean,
Friends.
we can't help that.
I'll say first of all, you and I can find Friends vibes.
Right,
probably
that's what I'm
in
saying.
every single thing.
Like,
but even
they're not doing that intentionally, I don't think.
Well, I mean,
Minions
maybe
of the
a little bit.
Antichrist is so specific. Like, you have to be a diehard
Yeah.
fan to remember that in Friends.
And you know what? I love that NBC social media team did that.
Right.
That was
I like
freaking
that they
amazing.
called it out, but I don't think the show intentionally like used it to be, oh, let's invoke a little bit, you know.
Well, I don't know if the writer wrote that episode of Friends. I would have to go back and check.
Oh yeah, but that's
because
what I'm saying.
I don't know if it was, for instance, something that he intentionally, a phrase that he likes to use, for instance. So it's something that he kind of uses in his writing, or
right,
what?
or
But no, I mean, you know, this sounds so name droppy. Part of the thing is, well, no, we do this as a job. We talk to these people.
I know. I'm like, it always sounds name droppy.
No, but I went to NBC at an event recently at Dodger Stadium with Matthew Perry. So basically the best event ever, because hello, Dodgers, my interest. And Matthew Perry was saying that basically he really loved what he loved about this character is that you would not normally tell the story of this guy had this tragic thing not happen to him. And so we kind of like that freedom of this character because this guy is really nothing that super special. I mean, yeah, he's a sportscaster, but it's not, you know, he doesn't have like superpowers. He doesn't have something extraordinary happening to him.
Right.
Because he had this tragedy in his life, we're exploring this guy where you normally wouldn't.
But
and
I like that more
well,
because then it's I like stories that are about real people, that people that you feel like could exist in this world.
Right.
And you know, it's interesting that he phrased it that way. I don't know that I would have said he's not interesting enough to tell a story about him without a tragedy. It would just be a different show.
Right.
You know, like I think you can tell a story about
a sportscast.
Yeah, it would be a different show. Maybe it would be a little bit more industry, whatever.
It'd definitely be more interesting. So would have.
I mean, depending on what his life is like, you know, who knows? But I like. I know it sounds terrible, but I'm like, but I kind of agree with you in the sense that I don't really believe in therapy in my own personal life. Like I don't believe in. Not that I don't think it helps people, I just don't believe in paying someone to tell them my problems. Like, that's what my friends are for. Like, when I need to vent, I vent to my friends for free.
I'm going to start charging her.
There was a line on Without a Trace about how friendship is basically therapy for poor people, and I totally agree with that. And I based a lot of things unintentionally around that before ever hearing that quote. But that's all I'm saying is, so I'm fascinated by seeing characters or real people go through something like that.
Right.
Does it actually help them? What aspect of it helps them? Is it just, you know, telling your story and moving on with time, or is there some sort of technique that obviously this therapist isn't the best trained, having come from Weight Watchers?
Yes,
but,
exactly.
You know, I mean, so I'm curious to watch characters grow and evolve, and like, what more obvious way does somebody need to if they're getting over something so tragic? You know?
Well, it's gonna be interesting. I think. Hopefully, I mean, the show seems to be doing well in the ratings so far. I'm knocking on.
Yeah, and
wood
they've
right
aired,
now,
and
they've
that
aired
weird, you know, premieres the night before, and then I thought that would mess people up.
I was really afraid it was going to too.
Yeah.
Like, dude, NBC, I understand you have some ratings troubles, but please don't screw with my shows.
You know what? That worked for them.
It ended up working. So, congrats on that.
I know, who knew?
I was waiting for those ratings and waiting to be crushed. I'm glad it didn't happen. But I'm very interested to see if this show lasts 2, 3, 7 years.
Yeah.
What it's going to mean for these group dynamics. How many people are going to have to be rotated out? Because, quite frankly, realistically, yes, you can keep them for 2, 3
But they don't have to be
years.
in therapy anymore.
Right.
That's what I mean. You know?
But at the same time, it's going to be interesting because then it becomes a different show if you're out of therapy.
Right. But I mean, in season 5, a lot of shows become a different show anyway. I mean,
yes, but
like, if you look at Community, you know, they're still in school together. They're still a study group, even though they've rotated through different shows. But a lot of their storylines have nothing to do with the fact that they're a study group.
Right.
It's just the fact that now they're friends outside of the fact that they're a study group, you know? And so they use the study group to make sure they always carve out time to be together. But, you know, you don't necessarily need to go to therapy to carve out time to be together. You could, you just have to get yourself to the place where you say, well, I like you enough that even though I'm not mandated to be here anymore, I want to see you, you know?
It's going to be interesting to see if they try to introduce new people. Or if they
I think they should. I think that, I mean, I don't necessarily want to see people leave, but like, although I will say they need to evolve that bearded guy or I'm going to lose my mind. He's a little too sitcom for me. Like, just, I don't know much about him. He just seems like the weird guy who's there to make you uncomfortable. And it's working, but I want to know more about him in order to care.
Okay.
You know, that's all. So, we'll see. I would love for Matthew Perry to be on TV for a long, long time. And I think this is a show that I would want to watch.
I'm glad it's actually a good show.
So, yeah.
Like,
so
I mean, I'm really happy with the show. I find it so charming, and I'm so excited about the sports stars. And Michael Vartan is coming on, which
We don't have to talk about that now. He's a little vanilla for me.
Okay.
Anyway, before she kills me and throws me into the pool you can't see.
I was going to say there's going to be throwing in the pool in a minute.
These are the comedies we liked. We still have to talk about the comedies we don't particularly enjoy. I think that's going to be a very lively discussion. I think that you might want to stick around for that.
There may be cursing on that one.
There will be. I'm Danielle at Danielle TBD.
Marisa Ruffin. Why am I waving? Who cares?
I don't know.
Hello.
Why not? Why not wave? Anyway, so please stick around and, let us know what you think about these shows. You can find us on Twitter.